Hello my friends and welcome to art class. Guys, but this week I finally have hopefully sent you home folders. So this one doesn't have like anyone's name on it yet, but it will when I send it home. So on your folder, it's going to say your teacher's name. So this one says Miss Lane and it says art folder underneath it. And then like down here or up here somewhere, I will write your name and I will write like the pod that you're in. Or if you're a friend who's all remote, I'll write like remote learner, something like that, so that I will easily tell whose folder this is. So I'll talk just for a second about respecting our art supplies. So your folder is kind of like your art room that's gone home with you. So just like the desk in art class, you wouldn't like write all over it. You wouldn't like put stickers on it. You wouldn't, you know, rip it or tear it, right? You wouldn't like break the legs off one of my tables. So try and treat this folder nicely. I'm really hoping that these folders will last us all year long. I do have some extra ones. So if you lose your folder, if your dog eats it, if you put your backpack through the washing machine and your folder was still in there, or something like that happens and you lose your folder, it's not a big deal. I can get you a new one. But I'm hoping that we will treat them nicely so that they can last us all year. So you should have your folder at home with you. You should have your folder and you should have an art supply. So that could be it could be literally anything with kind of like one exception. So it could be just a pencil, right? If you just have a pencil, that will work for you this week. If you have markers will work. But like markers, crayons, pencil will work just fine. I'm gonna do the same project that you're gonna doing, and I'm gonna do it with a pencil, just to show you that you don't have to have markers, you don't have to have crayons, right? You don't have to have like new crayons. These aren't even mine. Like these came from like the supply room at school. I'm gonna put them back when I'm done filming this video. So inside your folder, so check one, we have our folder, check through, we have our material that we're gonna use. So I also want you to think about the space that you're in. Are you sitting on a couch right now? Are you sitting, I don't know, in a lawn chair outside with no table? Like those probably wouldn't be the best choices for a place to do your artwork. Kind of the big thing that you need to have in front of you right now is a hard surface. The floor is a perfectly good hard surface. So if you don't have a desk, if your kitchen table is like covered up with stuff like mine is, that's totally fine. You can work right on the floor. If you're working with something messy like paint, floor might not be a good choice. And it should be like a hard floor, not like a carpet floor. But really any hard surface, kitchen table, kitchen counter, desk, floor, picnic table outside, those will all work fine. You should probably talk to your parents before you like go into a space that's not yours, right? Like if your mom has a desk in her room, right, that's probably not the best choice for you unless you have like already talked to her about that. Okay, so we are in a quiet workspace. We have our folder, we have our art material. So let's open our folders up. So the first thing you're gonna see in this folder, I'm gonna try and talk a little bit faster because we're already like almost 5 minutes into this. So first thing you're gonna find in your folder is this paper right here. It says dot day on it because that is the assignment we are doing. On this paper is a checklist of a bunch of things. One of those things you should have done already. So if you haven't, I'm gonna tell you to like scroll back up and watch the video of someone reading The Dot to you. It's a book called The Dot by Peter H. Reynolds. It's fairly short. So if you're not like a big like book person or if you don't love like being read to, don't worry, it's pretty short. So I'm gonna take my pencil and I'm gonna check off. We have watched The Dot already. The next thing you should do is watch this video right now, which like, you're doing it. So you can go ahead and check it off. So I've checked off 2 of my things on my list. So I'm doing pretty good, right? So my next choice is to make sure that I'm in a good place to work. So we just talked about that. Hopefully, if you're like, ooh, I don't think I'm in a good place, you should pause the video, find yourself a good place to work. I think most of us, that's gonna be sort of a common sense thing, but if you're trying to do your artwork on your sofa or on your couch or in your bed, I'm just gonna let you know that that is probably not the place where you're gonna do your best work. So I'm gonna assume that everyone is in a good place, so I'm gonna check that one off. So the next thing that we'll check off is that we did our personal best work. So that's the next one right down here. So we haven't started our work yet, so I can't check that one off. So I will flip this paper over and show you the next thing that we're gonna look at. So this right here is a rubric. Okay, my friends. So now that you can see my hands and my paper in front of me, let's look at this rubric together. So if you don't have this piece of paper out, get this out real quick. So we are going to make, you can actually get out all your pieces of paper. So we are going to make a dot for our artwork this week, just like the little girl in the story did. So this is your dot. You can make it look like whatever you want it to look like. It can be a dot that uses negative space. So maybe you think about making a design all around the circle, just like the little girl did. You could make a dot that's colored in completely. You could make, right, any type of dot that is like your dot. But there are some things that I'm kind of looking for you to do, and I'm gonna go through those. So if my work looked like this one right here, it would not meet the target. I am like pretty much 100% confident that none of your work will look like this. So what this friend would have done, and I made all of these, this friend would have worked way too fast, right? If you get this done in like 30 seconds, you've probably worked too fast and it's not your best work. You may have like put your name throughout like the whole middle of your paper. Your name should be small in the corner. It's not part of your artwork. It's kind of just telling me that it's your artwork. It's your signature at the bottom, right? Just like in writing class, you wouldn't write your name across your whole paper. So you don't do it in art class either. It's not very thoughtful, right? I haven't really, we can see some kind of like scribbly marks, but we can't see any like real thought process. Or it might have just not followed the assignment at all, right? So if you draw me a beautiful landscape scene with trees and leaves, right? It might be a really nice tree, but it's not following the assignment. So it's not gonna really meet that target. So here's my 2. So this is my partially meet. So this one is too simple. It's kind of missing kind of like the key idea from what we're learning about this week was creating a dot. So did this friend create a dot? Not really. They kind of created a rectangle and they added a pattern to it, but it kind of missed the concept of creating a dot. And there's no name on this one, right? It's really hard for me to grade your work when you forget to put your name on it. This year, your art will come back to me in a folder, so that will make it a little bit easier for me, but I'd still really like us to keep in the habit of putting our names on our work. So here is my 3, or my meets the target artwork, right? It didn't take me forever to do. It's not, it's not the Mona Lisa, but it's a thoughtful design. It used slow and careful lines. If you've colored in a space, you're doing that slowly and carefully. My name is small in the corner, and my artwork has something called good craftsmanship. So that would mean that my artwork isn't ripped, torn, wrinkled, right? So if your artwork, I'm gonna pretend it's this paper. If your artwork comes back to me and like a corner of it's ripped off, I'm gonna say, ooh, that friend wasn't very careful with their artwork. If it's like kind of wrinkled, right? I'm gonna say, ooh, that friend wasn't very careful with their artwork. So I'm gonna know that like, you weren't really showing that you're caring about your works. And that is something that we do look for, is good craftsmanship, keeping your work neat and careful and organized, stuff like that. Okay, my friends, so we are ready to get to the meat we're ready to get to like the meat of our work. And that is making our dot. So you have 2 pieces of paper in front of you. You can choose which one you are going to work on. Or if you have like a little brother or sister who's not in school yet and they would like to make one with you, you could give them your other piece of paper, or they could just do one on a separate piece of paper too. And also you have 2 just in case something happens to one. Let's say like you got all ready to work and your brother sitting next to you spills his orange juice everywhere and it gets all over your paper. You got a second one waiting for you. Okay, my friends, so we know that we could choose something like crayons, We could choose something like markers. We cannot choose something like a Sharpie. Sharpie, like, here, I'll show you. Like, if I was using a Sharpie, it's going like right through my paper. So Sharpie, not a good choice. If I like colored in with a Sharpie, right, it's gonna go through even more. So we do not want to use a Sharpie for this. So I think I'm gonna choose this one to work on, the one that looks like the little canvas. You could just as easily choose the one that has a little frame around it. Doesn't matter which one you choose. So I have my paper, I have my art supply. Again, crayons, totally fine, markers, totally fine, but just a pencil. You can do so much with just a pencil. So we know that we want to make a dot. We want it to be our dot, our own dot, and it can look like anything we want it to. So right now at home, right, it's just like this is art class. I've kind of given you the directions and now we're gonna work. And I'm gonna work right along with you. You might work faster than me, you might work slower than me. That's okay. If you finish before I do, that's okay. You can either kind of just like watch me finish making mine, or you can maybe ask your parent or babysitter or whoever you are with to help you kind of like forward through the video until we get to the end. Okay, so I made a circle. Is it a perfect circle? No, it's not perfect. That's okay. Your dot does not have to be perfect. The little girl in the story, her dot wasn't perfect. It doesn't matter if it's perfect, it just matters that it is yours. So you're working right along with me, hopefully. If you're not, if you haven't started working yet, get your paper in front of you. It's in your folder. Get yourself a pencil. If you don't have a pencil at home, I will just say this. If you don't have a pencil at home, a pen works totally fine. You could use just like a regular writing pen, like your mom or dad would use to like write out their like grocery list. You could use old broken crayon. Old broken crayons. They work just as well as new shiny crayons. They really do. I'm making my dot really bold. That's what I'm going to start by doing. I'm going to make my dot really thick. I'm making a thick dot here. I'm coloring it in a little bit with my pencil. Sometimes you have to be careful when you color in with a pencil because it like smears pretty badly sometimes. Well, it didn't right there, but here, you know what? It's actually doing okay. But like the back of your hand, you'll notice you get like pencil lines on it a lot. So I'm gonna make my dot really thick and nice. Your dot could be thin though. Your dot does not have to be like mine. Color that in, make it super big. I'm gonna think about what kind of details I'm gonna add to my dot. I think I wanna make kind of a pattern on mine. So I'm gonna split mine up a little bit into different spaces, and that'll just help me. I think I wanna make some lines like this on mine. I'm gonna make that go all the way around. So right now, mine is something called symmetrical. Yours doesn't have to be symmetrical, but mine is. Ooh, it almost looks to me right now kind of like a basketball. Do any of you guys play basketball? Or other sports? Baseball? Soccer ball? Wait, soccer. Oh, that's always like kind of baffled me, I gotta say, that football's called football, baseball's called baseball, but soccer isn't called soccer ball. Like, why not? Why isn't it called soccer ball? I don't know. I'm gonna color these spaces in though, I think. I'm gonna have to sharpen my pencil soon though. I don't wanna get up and do it. That's okay. Sometimes you gotta do things you don't wanna do, like getting up to sharpen your pencil. So I think in artwork, sometimes it's nice to have variation. That means that like, not all of your lines are thick. Not all of your lines are thin. Your lines, not all straight. Your lines aren't all curvy. So after I'm finished with these kind of like thick colored in lines, I think I want to do some thin lines. Ooh, I'm really gonna actually have to sharpen this though. Such a bummer. Okay, be right back. There we go. That's the thing about getting up to sharpen your pencil is, I don't know, like some of you guys will sharpen your pencils when they're like barely used at all. I think just because you like sharpening pencils. But I don't like getting up to sharpen my pencil. But then once I do it, I'm always really glad that I did. Because like, look how much easier this is. Yes. There we go. So mine isn't perfectly symmetrical. That's okay. It's my dot. It's not your dot. Don't tell me what to do with my dot. I'm not telling you what to do with yours, other than that it should be your best work. As long as it's your best work, it's your dot, it can be whatever you want it to be. Artwork isn't always that way. That's a confusion that some of us have sometimes. You know, sometimes artwork really is purely about learning a new skill. Like when we're mixing colors, right? Is there a wrong way to mix green? There sure is. If you take purple and black and mix them together, guess what? You've mixed green the wrong way. But something like this, something that's really creative, there isn't really a wrong way to do it as long as you are doing your best work. Okay, I have my nice thick lines. I'm gonna start with some thin lines. I'm still going nice and slowly, right? Just because they're thin lines doesn't mean that I get to do them faster. And if they're not perfect, it's okay. It's okay because they are my best work. Making nice thin lines. I wonder if I should do a different design in each of these empty sections. Or if I should do the same design. I kind of want to do the same design. I kind of want to make mine like really symmetrical. What kind of design are you making? Remember that, like, even if you feel silly, because I feel silly sitting in an empty room talking to, I use my cell phone to film videos. Most of you guys know that. Basically just sitting here talking to my cell phone. I feel silly. So if you feel silly, like talking back to me during art class, because this is art class, even though if it doesn't really feel like art class, that's okay. It doesn't feel like art class to me either, but I'm, you know, making it work. We're making it work. Even if you feel silly talking back to me, it's okay. Do it anyway. Do it. Are you using color for yours? Are you making yours black and white like mine? Are you maybe leaving an empty space in the center and making a design all around it? There's so many different ways that you could make a dot. So one nice thing about pencil drawings that normally we don't cover this till 4th grade, but I'm gonna talk about it a little bit right now. One nice thing about pencil lines is that you can get what's called different values. You can with crayons too, you can even with markers too, but it's trickier. With pencils though, the lighter, the less pressure I put down on my pencil, the less amount of lead ends up on my paper. So I think I'm gonna add a little bit of detail around my dot. It's your dot, you can do that if you want to, or you can leave it nice and black around it. But I'm gonna add some value, just a lighter value around my dot. It's kind of just making my dot bigger. And as I go around my dot, I'm kind of changing the direction that my pencil is going to try and make my coloring a little bit smoother. Kind of go with the line that I already have. See, so I think that I'm about done with my dot. Remember, this is my dot, it's not yours. So if you don't like my dot, that's okay. If you make your dot and your older brother or your friend who's with you that day tells you that they don't like your dot, say that's okay. It's my dot, it's not your dot. It's okay for other people to like different things, right? You might have made a really colorful dot and color just isn't like their favorite thing. They might not like it, that's okay. What matters is that you like it. And if you don't like it, ask yourself why. Do you just not like the assignment, right? You might be like, you know what? I'm just not a dot person. I gave it a shot, but it's not my thing. That's okay. You've learned something from that experience. Totally fine. Do you not like that it has too much detail? Like, I can tell you one thing I don't like about mine is how close these two lines get together. They actually even touch each other. When I didn't really want them to touch each other, but they did. And you know what? It's okay. It's all right. I can not like that one little thing, but still like my artwork. Okay, I think I'm done. What am I missing? There is something that I am absolutely missing. Let me see, where's my rubric that I didn't treat very well. Poor rubric. So, my two. What was my two artwork missing? My partially meets. It was missing my name. So if you're done and you don't have a name on yours, you gotta put your name. Guess what name I'm gonna put? I'm gonna put my first name. My first name is Helen. My middle name is Caroline. Some of you who have seen my YouTube channel probably know that my middle name is Caroline. It's kind of like, here's a super secret. It's actually kind of like what most of my like real life non-work friends call me in my day-to-day life, but that's okay. Some of you have middle names that you use as your name, and some of you have maybe like nicknames that you use. That's okay too. I'm gonna add a little bit of color right there just because I want to. So you are going to, when you're done, and if you're not done yet, pause the video right now. If you don't know how to pause the video, ask your mom, dad, sister, brother, babysitter, whoever you are there with. Go ask them right now. Mom, dad, sister, brother, babysitter, friend, uncle, aunt, ask them, I need to pause my YouTube video that I am watching, and they will help you do it. Okay, so if you're not done yet, pause, unpause when you're done. Okay, so here I have my rubric, right? I got my rubric, I got my artwork. I'm gonna look at my artwork and kind of like decide how I think I did. We still got our checklist to do though. So did I do my best personal work? You guys watched me work. So usually, here's what I look for when I watch you guys work. I'm looking for, are you looking at your artwork? Are you doing a lot of talking that's not about your artwork, right? If you're spending most of your time talking to your friend about the sports game, you can tell I don't watch sports. Were you talking about the sports game and not focusing on your work? Were you not thinking about your work while you were working? You know, that might not have been your best work. It's okay, you know, right? Sometimes I don't do my best personal work either. But what's more important is that I've recognized that that wasn't my best. But I think I did do my best. I was looking at my work. I was thinking about my work because I was talking about it the whole time. It's pretty much finished. I don't have any like big empty spaces other than like the empty spaces I should have. So I've done my best personal work. So now we are going to, you know what, we're actually going to do this one next. That's okay. So I'm going to reflect on my work by filling out my rubric. So I'm looking at my 1, 2, and 3 here. I want to know, is my work a 1? Does it not meet the target at all? So here, I'm going to take my second piece of paper. Like I'm even going to do like scribbles here, right? So if you turn this into me, this might be like, we have the circle at least, but was this work thoughtful? Not really. Was this work my slow and careful lines? Not really. Did it have my name on it? No, it didn't. If this is what's coming back to me, right, that's okay. If this was the best you could do that day, or if like something like, what's more important to me is that you can recognize that this isn't your best work. So if you were turning this into me, you might put a 1. It's okay. Just because your work doesn't meet the target 1 week doesn't mean you're going to fail art, right? It's, you know, just because, right? Like when you guys are doing your mad minutes for math, right? If you don't get any problems 1 week, do you fail math class? Nope. It's more important that you recognize that this wasn't your best work if this is what yours looks like. But I really think mine was a 3. I'm going to circle a 3. That's what I think. Right? I think that I made a dot. I made a thoughtful design. I worked slowly and carefully. I put my name small in the corner. I didn't rip my work. Like this like extra stuff up here, if we were in art class, I would probably ask you not to do kind of just like write like scribbles around the outside. That does kind of distract from your work. You don't want anything like this that's going to distract from your work. If this is what yours look like at home though, I would probably just have you cut this out. That'll be okay too. Right? It's not too simple. It's not missing the concept that we're making a dot. It has my name on it. I think mine's a meets. So look at your work right now. Circle your 1, 2, or your 3. Once you've done that, you can check off that you reflected on your work by filling out your rubric. The last thing that we are going to do, and I don't, for the life of me, do not know why I didn't put this as the last thing on this checklist, but that's okay. We all make mistakes. I'm going to clean up and put away my work. So I taped mine down just so it wouldn't move around when I was filming. And I'm just going to fold this tape over. But I'm going to pretend that I'm a student in Miss Lane's class. How lucky would I be? I'm going to put my work back in my folder neatly and carefully. I'm going to pull the pocket out a little bit and just slide it right in, and it'll slide right in. My rubric, well, that I didn't treat very nicely. Oh my gosh, guys, don't do this. But I was just kind of showing you. I was showing you an example. So I've now cleaned up my work. And this rubric here can go back into my folder. If you did 2 dots, see, see, this is, I'm a rant for a second. This is another reason why you shouldn't wrinkle your papers, because I'm having the worst time getting this to go back in because it's all wrinkly. There we go. If you did 2 dots and you want me to see both of them, you can also put your second dot in here. But if you just want to keep one at home, or if your little brother or sister made one, or if you had one that just didn't work out and you don't want to turn it into me, that's fine. Just set it to the side. So the last thing that I'll show you in this folder is it tells you what day to return your folder. So if this number doesn't make any sense to you, it will to your mom or dad, sister, brother, uncle, aunt, babysitter that you are with. So this number is a date. It tells me the month and the day. The month is the 9th month of the year. That is September. The date is the 14th. If you're a friend who doesn't come to school on this date, yours would say something different. But I'm just going to put this in here as a reminder as to when this folder should come back to me. And the way that it comes back to me is you put it in your backpack and you give it to your teacher, and they will put it in my classroom for me to look at. And I cannot wait to see all your wonderful artworks.